Letters beneath the olive tree. Elena Rossi arrived in Montevello with hesitant steps. The small town hadn't changed much since she last visited as a child. After her divorce, she chose to stay temporarily at her late grandmother's house, a quiet place with an olive tree garden in the back. She wasn't seeking love. She wanted peace, nothing more. Until one afternoon, while cleaning the garden, she found an old metal box buried near the roots of the olive tree. Inside were dozens of aged letters, all addressed to my beloved. None of them signed with a name. I saw you today, watering the flowers. Your sorrow is like a reluctant spring. I wish I could hold you, but I just stand here, waiting for the next morning. Who was this man, and who was he writing to? The next day, at Montevello Square, Elena saw a man painting near the old fountain. He captured the town's soul in warm, gentle hues. His name was Luca. He seemed to be in his late 30s. His face was calm and his eyes deep, like someone carrying something that had never been said aloud. They talked about art, about old homes, about the kind of loss that doesn't scream, yet never fades. That night, Elena read another letter, then another, and another, until she found one that felt different. The handwriting trembled slightly, the tone more desperate. If life granted me just one day with you, I would spend it in silence, just to hear your heartbeat. On the back, a faint postscript had been added. Forgive me, I am only a coward of a father who never found the courage to speak. The next morning, Elena met Luca again at a small cafe near the old church. For some reason, she felt she had to ask, "Have you lived here since childhood?" Luca nodded. My father used to live in the house near the olive tree. He often sat alone there, writing letters he never sent. Elena held her breath. Your father, what was his name? Matteo, Luca said. He loved someone for decades, silently, but he never had the courage to tell her. So he wrote her letters, then buried them. Elena's hands trembled. The olive tree is in my backyard. Luca's expression shifted, like the past had just stepped into the present. That means you're the granddaughter of the woman he loved. That evening, after the revelation of Luca's father and the letters buried in Elena's garden, they sat quietly beneath the same olive tree. Neither of them spoke for a long while. It wasn't silence born of awkwardness, but the kind of silence that wraps around two people who carried too many things inside. Luca finally spoke, his voice low and steady. To be honest, part of me hated those letters. Elena turned to him, surprised. My father, he said slowly, loved someone else, not my mother, and she knew. She never said it out loud, but I saw it, in her tired eyes and the way she smiled, without meaning it. He stared ahead into the trees, as if seeing something that no longer existed. I grew up in a house where love was quiet, not because it was peaceful, but because no one wanted to disturb the truth. Elena reached for his hand. And when I found out those letters were for your grandmother, it felt like betrayal all over again, as if my entire childhood was built on someone else's heartbreak. I understand, Elena whispered. She told him about the marriage that crumbled, about the promises broken not by shouting, but by silence. Her husband had once said he loved her, and then chose someone easier, softer, safer. I came here to stop blaming myself, she admitted, but the harder part is trusting love again. They didn't speak for a while, but in that pause, something began to shift, a fragile honesty, a shared weight. In the days that followed, they didn't talk about love, or letters, or what might have been. They painted the window frames of Elena's inherited home. They cleaned the garden. They made tea and watched the sunset without saying much. And every evening, they sat beneath the olive tree like clockwork, watering their wounds not with words, but with presence. One evening, Elena turned to him. I think love doesn't have to come all at once. Maybe it grows in the quiet things, in effort, in truth. Luca looked at her with something unreadable in his eyes. You know, I don't want to become my father, he said quietly. You're not, she replied gently. You're an unwritten beginning. On a rainy night, when the air was thick with the scent of soil and old memories, Luca knocked on Elena's door. In his hand, he held an envelope. Not a love letter, but a letter to his mother. Mom, if you're reading this from wherever you are, I want you to know I don't blame you for staying. I'm starting to understand that love doesn't always win. Sometimes it just survives, quietly, patiently. I'm trying now to love without fear, to be the kind of man who chooses the present, not the past. Elena read the letter through tears, and for the first time since she arrived in Montevello, she allowed herself to be held. Epilogue, where wounds become roots. 2 years later, the olive tree still stood tall, but beneath it now bloomed soft lavender, the kind that took time to root but returned faithfully each spring. The townspeople would say their love wasn't like lightning. It didn't strike and blaze. It grew, quietly, steadily. Their wounds never fully disappeared, but they became fertile soil for something gentle, something honest. Luca and Elena didn't write many letters like Matteo had, but they wrote each other through other things, through laughter, through silence, through the courage to show up every single day, because sometimes love isn't about being whole when you arrive. It's about healing together, piece by piece, and they chose each other. Every day,